Hey there everybody, Ben here from Hyper Colosseum. We are back with a new segment to the channel. This is our pilot episode of the Digital Gate, which is going to be a weekly recap in everything Digimon. The hope that we're trying to do with this segment is to bring to you guys a weekly recap all in one spot so that you can kind of just get a summary of what's been going on in the Digimon community, whether it be TCG related, video game news, anime news, collectibles, and everything in between. This week's video is going to be just a tad bit longer, just because we had a huge event this past weekend with Digimon Con, and I do want to take some time to kind of recap all the stuff that got revealed. We had a ton of card reveals, Digimon reveals, product reveals, artwork reveals, competition, like we had everything under the sun that, I think is going to be a great thing to kind of kickstart this series with. Typically what we'll try to do is keep it nice, short, and concise. We really want to be able to give you any new TCG news, whether it be card reveals, tournament news. We have a regionals coming up this weekend, so next week's video, my hope is to kind of bring to you guys the kind of topping list, the breakdown of what topped and what we saw in that regional, as well as talk over anything else that may have popped up, like I said, within the Digimon community itself. But that being said, this particular video is going to be very much Digimon Con focused. So, yeah, let's see how the series goes. If you guys have any feedback, any advice on, what you guys want to see moving forward, what you feel like would be helpful to include or not include, drop a comment in the comment section down below. The first couple episodes is really just going to be us tinkering with what's worked, what may not work as well as we thought we would have thought it would. So this is a ongoing project, and hopefully, something we can keep going for you guys moving forward. Alrighty, so where do we start with Digimon Con? There really was just so much to talk about, and there were so many different, pieces of news and reveals and stuff that was coming out that it was honestly just crazy to watch. I remember staying up with Jarrell and TJ, and we were just like, every minute towards the middle onwards was like every minute was just something new. So it was awesome. But usually, we start off with our standard introductory stuff. We got to see sort of a nice reflection from the voice actors from various anime series, whether it be from the DigiDestined, the partners of the DigiDestined, and various anime arcs throughout the Digimon series. So it's nice to see some of these voice actors come onto stage and talk about either their experiences, how their characters were shaped, what the stories were like, and how they felt their characters and their preparation played a part into that. So it was just nice seeing some of those old familiar faces and kind of hearing it from them sort of from a first-person perspective. And then we got to see the VTuber Agumon make his debut, which, in all honesty, at first when I heard that they were doing this, I was just like, really? Like, what is that going to be all about? Then I saw that cute motherfucker, and I'm like, holy Moses. I could talk to this guy like all day long. He was so damn cute, guys. And it really just was fun to have him as part of like the event itself. I really am interested to see if they're going to do this with the other partners of the DigiDestined moving forward. So like Gabumon, Tentomon, Patamon, maybe bringing these guys in would also be really fun. And I think a really popular segment. So, shout out to Bandai for making this kind of thing work. Because like I said, he was one cute motherfucker. After that, we did get a few live music performances, which, is always nice to hit the nostalgia button. You hear Braveheart come on, and I think any sort of OG Digimon fans just gonna have like this huge wave of nostalgia come about them. So hearing that's always just great for the feels. There was also a piano piece that kind of went through a lot of the old video game music, ranging from like Cyber Sleuth all the way up to Digimon Survive, which again was really, really nice and a really good segue into sort of their highlight portion on the Digimon video game world over the years, right? They talked about the original like Digimon World, Digimon Rumble Arena, and talked about some of the inspirations behind that, how those games evolved, and how we have seen Digimon games evolve over the years, right? We've come a long way from games like I said, the original Digimon World, Digimon Dusk and Dawn, for example, is a series that really brought people into maybe Digimon video games. And honestly, I have very, very fond memories of playing Dusk and Dawn back in the day. And now seeing games like Cyber Sleuth, which honestly is still a pretty old game now, and the new like Digimon World Order, all these new games that are coming out, it was really great to see how things have evolved for Digimon video games over the years. I would be very interested to know what Bandai's next project is going to be. We didn't really get much of a reveal or much of a hint about what that project may be moving forward, but I really hope that, I would really like to see like a more open world sort of Digimon game where you can really just interact with the environment and kind of move and evolve from the old like Digimon world sort of theme and cinematics. So I think it'd be interesting to see what Bandai cooks up with it. So hopefully in the coming months we get some sort of a new project, leaked or released, whatnot. Then things started to really heat up. So after they talked about the video games, they revealed another project that was related to the 25th anniversary of Digimon, and that was the Color Evolution DigiVices. Holy shit, guys. Like, these were absolutely amazing. I personally was not aware of this even being a thing prior to seeing this on the con stream itself. I don't know if I think there have been leaks about it before, but this was my personal first time seeing it, and I can't tell you how excited I am to get my hands on these guys. If you haven't seen the trailer for it, I will link it in the video description down below, but they are so fire. Like, the pre-orders are up on Premium Bandai. Last I checked, I believe these special editions are out of stock. I'm not too sure about the standard edition, but these things are just, it's like Tamagotchi and the previous DigiVices, like, taken to a whole new level. There's new animations, there's new audio recordings, they're gonna play, previous theme songs and soundtracks. Like, it's just a really, really cool device. If you're a fan of anything Digimon related, particularly like the DigiVices and like the digital like fitness devices as well, like, I think this is honestly really right up your alley. I personally am looking forward to getting my like Matt Ashita special edition. For those of you who didn't see it, there are like the standard edition, which comes as like the regular like Digimon colorway for the standard DigiDevice, and then there's two special edition versions which go off of like Tai and Matt's color scheme. So you've got like an orange and blue Tai Kamiya one and a blue and white Matt Ashita one. The special edition will come with a special like exclusive 25th anniversary art book that kind of goes over different like concept arts, promotional sketches, initial sketches of like a lot of the original Digimon anime, which I think is really cool. I'm a huge sucker for art books in general, so when I saw that, I was like, even more reason for me to get this. And it also comes with a crest that can kind of match your personal favorite Digidestined. The standard edition as well as the special edition will come with a limited edition promo card. Both editions will get it, which I think is nice. I believe we will be getting an English version of it as well, and it will be somewhat viable. I don't think it's like a super busted card, but the art of it is super, super nice. So after they talked about these Color Evolution DigiDevices, we moved on to a brief segment on the new Digimon Seekers project. For those who aren't familiar with Digimon Seekers, it's essentially a novel or a web novel that you can read. No real graphic association to it, so it's purely like text, but it is a alternate like Digimon story that you can keep up with and read on. The cinematic that they gave us was, I think, really nice because this is the first time outside of like the card game itself you got to see some of these characters brought to life. And it was also nice to see some of the new leaks for the Pulsemon and Fenryuga line, which is also an exciting piece of news that we'll be delving into later. So I think that was really cool just to kind of see and have that revealed. And after they talked about the Seekers, they moved on to the much anticipated TCG segment. There was a lot going on with the TCG segment itself. I won't spend too much time on it, but they did do a nice segment where they talked over each region, being North America, Europe, as well as JP and China. I think they split into two. But basically what they did was they talked about like favorite artworks, favorite Digimon in the card game, and they also announced a reprint of specific Digimon cards. I believe like the Warp War Greymon was included, Gaiomon, Mastemon. So those unique cards will be getting a future reprint with like a nice full art made by the original artist of their alternative art, which I think is really cool. You know, I'm always a sucker for nice art, and anything that I can get my hands on to collect, I'll gladly take more to kind of feed my addiction. So that was sort of like the first segment. They kind of talked about some random decks that were put together as well. And then they moved on to this new piece of information, which we got a new chase card. So the new chase card is going to be an additional, not a separate one, but like an additional, I guess, an extra rare alternative art of the secret Greymon that we'll be getting in BT17, I believe. This card is absolutely dope. Like the amount of like gold shine that we were getting in this card rivals One Piece. It almost, for those of you who do play One Piece, it kind of reminds me of those like campaign rares that we got, or those like exclusive rares that we got in OP05, where it's like basically like a gold plated card with the character on there. This particular art is also a nice homage to the original Digimon movie, where you have Tai and Kari in the background and Greymon fighting off, you know, one of the Parrotmons. So it's just a really, really nice thing to see additional like artwork and support to the community. I think they've really upped their game in general in Digimon art. You know, I think they've really upped their ante in terms of how, you know, the quality of the artwork. The alt arts are getting more and more like lively and just really, really nice, you know, and it's really nice to see that the game is still getting that support. The next segment is for you, TJ, because we finally get more support for Dexterugoromon. This part of the stream did reveal the top end, which will be one of the SR cards in BT17. We had reveals of the line itself prior to the Digimon Con stream, but the con was where we got to see the top end, or the level 6, for the first time. And the Dexterugoromon reads as following. So it is a Mega, it is a Virus, it Digivolves on top of a Dorugoromon for a cost of 2. It's Trash effect, so while it's in the trash, all turns when one of your Dorugoromon would be deleted by Digivolving that Digimon into this card in the trash without paying the cost, you prevent that deletion. So pretty good in terms of deletion protection. Then when Digivolving, you can de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon by 3. Then, if Dorugoromon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, or if Digivolving from the trash, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. So, very similar to what we see now with Leviamon X Antibody, right? Where you can Digivolve from the trash if a condition is met. So I think it's going to be a very popular mechanic for Purple moving forward, right? And the last bit of effect that it had is that during all turns, once per turn, when another Digimon is deleted, you may unsuspend this Digimon. So I think really, really good support for Dexterugora and the line itself. I think it was missing a lot of key pieces, and BT17, I think, is really going to put it back on the radar and make it really, really good. It's not just going to be around and exist. It's going to be one of those decks that will do a lot of work, because the line with the new Dorumon, the new Dexterugomon, like those cards are all really, really good for that archetype. And I think along with this tamer that also got revealed during Digimon Con in Tomonori Ryusenji, this card also is really nice. It's a 3-cost tamer. When in effect, places tamer cards as one of your Digimon's Digivolution cards, so essentially like mind linking, right? By suspending this tamer, you gain 1 memory. And then at the end of your opponent's turn, once per turn, if this tamer is suspended, one of your Digimon with a tamer card in its Digivolution cards may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Dex or Death X in its name from the trash without paying the play cost. So once again, another condition that you can meet to just turbo straight into your Dexterugoromon, which probably will then allow you to proc a lot of ridiculous effects that way too. So I think it's going to be a very interesting time for these Dexteruga players. I'm really excited for TJ to kind of cook up something and show us what it's all about, because I know he's just super, super excited to play this deck. The final segment of the TCG portion of this Digimon Con really focused on Digimon Liberator, which for those of you who don't know is the new digital webcomic that will be officially debuting come end of April in Japan. The comic itself looks pretty neat. We did get a quick preview of the first chapter, and I think from a conceptual standpoint, it's really cool. Essentially almost like a Sword Art Online, but now with Digimon sort of played into it, which is sort of an interesting take on the whole thing. I'll link the pilot chapter below because I do believe there's like a link on Bandai's website where you can just go ahead and read it. So for those of you who are interested, you know, do feel free to check it out. I'll probably kind of keep up with it and see what it's all about too, as we're starting to get more and more card game support through Digimon Liberator. So I think being, you know, caught up with the manga may not be a bad thing and help you get more sort of involved with the game itself moving forward. Speaking of the Digimon Liberator Digimon, you know, we did get leaks as to what of the lines of some of these protagonist characters will look like, as well as a leak of the new protagonist character who's going to be Yuki. And Yuki herself will be partnered by Impmon, which will be really interesting. You know, a lot of folks are theorizing that Impmon, instead of leaning into the Beelzemon line, will be going into like a new Beelstar. So I think that'll be really interesting, not just for the webcomic itself, but for the TCG as well, to see if we get more Beelstar support. But the lines themselves look pretty cool. You know, they kind of go from the Digi-Egg. They didn't do the full line, but they did kind of reveal either like a level 4 or level 5 respectively for each pro tag character, and they did go to what the top end would look like for each respective pro tag character, which both look pretty darn cool. A bit Yu-Gi-Oh-esque, if I may say, which is interesting, but at the same time really, really cool. I'm interested to see like what their archetypes play like. Lastly, in regards to Liberator, they did announce a new pair of starter decks that will sort of incorporate the Liberator lines. EX7 was also revealed to be a Liberator focused set, so we are getting a lot of card game mechanics tied into the Liberator manga or webcomic, which I think will be really, really cool. Each starter deck, which will be officially releasing in Japan at the end of April, will come with special reprints of cards that are pretty staple right now, and those are the training cards. What was also revealed is that each starter deck will have special exclusive reprints to that starter deck. So for example, right, the green starter deck will have sort of a full set of the training cards in new alternative art forms, and the yellow starter deck will have, again, the training cards, but in an additional alt art. So for those of you who want like a full play set, you're going to be chasing two different alt arts, which, you know, I think at that point, most people will probably either buy it and buy singles or just buy the decks, because you usually need two decks to complete what you need for each starter deck. So I think that's really, really cool. Not just for degens like me who want to max rarity their deck, right, and kind of get all the pretty art as best we can. I think it's also nice for players who are trying to get into the game and find the game more accessible, mainly because, you know, as we get more alt arts produced of these essential cards, the base art will typically come down with it. You know, we still have some training cards going for like $8-10, which most decks nowadays will be running at least like 2 or 3, if not 4 of. So making those cards a little bit cheaper, a little bit more accessible is never a bad thing for the game. And I did save one of the biggest news for last in terms of TCG related news, and that is we are officially moving towards a simultaneous release, and we have an official schedule for that. I think this is really, really good for the game. I know some folks are a little bit on the fence about it, whether it's necessary or it's good, or how it's going to affect pull rates and set ratios moving forward. But like I said, I think it is good for the game moving forward, and it's going to be interesting to see, not just from like a meta perspective, but also from a competitive perspective as well. I know a lot of players from at least the JP Asia region, when they were coordinating worlds, not just with Digimon, but with One Piece as well. You know, JP is already like 1 to 2 sets ahead of us. Having those players have to take a step back, some of them argue that they may have been put at a disadvantage. Some of us argue that they were put at an advantage. So like, it really could go either way. I think it's just nice that you put everybody on the same playing field if you're going to keep doing these sort of global competitions, which I think is just great for the game in general, right? Now, with this expedited release to get us into like a simultaneous pattern, this does bring, the potential for us over in North America as well as Europe to feel almost like a rushed pattern of release, with something coming out essentially like every month after BT16 is released. This may make folks feel a bit overwhelmed, or like just feel like things are getting churned out almost too quickly. I would argue, just to be devil's advocate, that right now between BT15 and BT16, we're looking at like a 2-month gap. And a lot of people are like twiddling their thumbs already, right? Like people are like, now what? What do we do now? Like we're kind of itching for the next set to come out. And BT15 in actuality has only been out for a month now. We saw that with BT14. We saw that with EX5, where people were like, well, like I kind of want to just move on to the next set already. So in all honesty, like I think a month between sets honestly isn't the worst thing for the game. I think if you're pumping out sets like every 2 weeks, that's a whole different story. But I think a month between like big meta changing sets, I think is just fine. Of note, on top of all like the expedited sets being released, we will also be getting our second special booster sets, which will combine sets BT18 through BT20. So special booster 2.0 will include BT18 and BT19 cards, whereas special booster 2.5 will be including BT19 cards as well as BT20 cards. Once again, some folks are kind of concerned that it's going to mean lower pull rates, that essential cards are going to be more expensive, yada, yada, yada. I think that's a fair point, but at the same time, again, I think catching up with JP and the Asia format is much more aligned with our interests and will pay off in the long run. So I think it is a sacrifice that I personally, as a player and a collector, am willing to make. So after that did wrap up the TCG part of the Digimon convention, and the rest of it was really just kind of talking about new collectibles that are being released, new artwork competitions that were happening sort of around the world, and they ended sort of with a concluding event, which I thought was really nice. The con itself, I think, was pretty standard, but I think we did get a whole lot of news and reveals regarding a lot of things TCG related. That will wrap up our first episode of the Digital Gate. Like I said, this episode was mainly focused on DigiCon, which honestly is one of the biggest events and biggest news events for Digimon in general. So I think having a dedicated video for this is not a bad idea. In future videos, one, they're not going to be as long as this one, and two, we're really going to focus on like quick hits on what's going on in the TCG world, what's going on in the video game world, what may be going on in the anime world, and kind of going over just very, very quick rundowns of what's going on. So sort of like a news bulletin for you, if you want to put it that way. So be on the lookout for that video next week. I will definitely be talking about the regionals that's going to be happening this weekend through, I believe it's Core TCG. We're going to have a lot of, interesting points to talk about, as this is the first regionals after the BT15 ban list is taken into effect. So should be nice to see where things settle down and what decks come out on top. I personally will be playing in the regional as well, so I'll definitely be giving you guys a quick recap on how things went and what I faced. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think of this segment and what you guys think of this sort of idea in general. And let me know what else you would want to see in future episodes for this segment. I'm definitely game to try to tinker this series as best I can to make it more enjoyable for you guys. So yeah, just let me know. Thank you guys for all your support once again. It really does mean a lot. We really appreciate every single one of you. For those of you who haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hopefully, this along with other videos that are on the channel have helped convince you to keep joining us on our journey. We love just interacting with you guys and growing Digimon and spreading the love of the game. So thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll catch ya on that flippy flip. Bye-bye.